The stars shimmered around the giant Galactic Council station. It floated quietly in the dark, a ring-shaped structure made of silver alloys and glowing blue lights. Inside, dozens of species had gathered, tall ones, small ones, glowing, winged and scaled. Each sat in their own chambers, watching as a signal blinked on the central screen. A ship was approaching. The HSS Resolute, humanity's first dreadnought to enter Council space. It moved with quiet power. Its black armor gleamed like polished stone. Every curve of its body spoke of strength. Engines hummed, weapons were locked, but none fired. The ship came in peace, but it was ready. Inside the ship's command bridge, Commander Alara Voss stood calmly. "Status report," she said. "All systems stable," her officer replied. "We're being scanned, but no threats detected. Maintain course, let them look." Ilara's eyes were focused, her voice steady. Her hands rested behind her back. She wore a dark gray uniform with a single silver bar on her collar. It was simple, but her presence carried weight. Entering docking range, the pilot called out. As the ship locked into the station, a message came in. "Commander Voss, you are invited to speak before the Galactic Council." She nodded. "Prepare my escort." The council chamber was massive. It was a round hall with high ceilings and floating seats for each species. A soft blue light filled the air. Holograms showed real-time data and votes. At the center, a smooth platform waited. Alara walked in with 4 officers behind her. Their boots echoed. Whispers rose from every direction. "That's a human. They sent a warship, barbarians in armor." Alara stopped in the center. She looked up at the delegates. She said nothing yet. From above, a loud voice boomed. "This session is called to order. The human delegation may speak." It was Supreme Chancellor Drenkul. He stood on a raised dais, tall and scaled, with sharp features and deep red skin. His armor gleamed with golden edges. He looked down at Alara as if she were a bug. "So," he said, "the savages from Earth finally crawl into the light." The room laughed. Alara didn't react. "We've seen your wars," he continued. "Your weapons, your history. You think bringing a battleship proves strength. No, it proves fear." Alara raised her eyes slowly. "We came in peace," she said, calm and clear. "But we don't come weak." Some in the chamber shifted. Others watched silently. "We know what you think of us," she continued. "But what you think doesn't change who we are." The Chancellor sneered. "Big words for a child race." Then he leaned forward. "Perhaps a demonstration is needed. Something to remind you of your place." Alara didn't blink. She simply replied, "We'll be ready." After the meeting, she returned to the Resolute. Her officers followed in silence. On the bridge, a private transmission awaited. It was from an old contact. "Ambassador Wren from the neutral Lyrans. Be warned," the message said. "The Tergathi are planning an attack. They call it a test. It won't be fair." Alara watched the stars outside the viewport. "They don't want fair," she whispered. "They want fear." She turned to her crew. "Prepare the ship, we're going to Vega 9. The HSS Resolute moved silently through deep space, heading toward Vega 9, one of humanity's farthest colonies. It was a small world with thick forests, clear lakes, and underground cities built to survive in the wild. Thousands of human settlers lived there, families, workers, scientists. None of them knew what was coming. On the bridge, Commander Alara Voss studied the incoming reports. Her officers gathered around the central holotable, where a map of the Vega sector glowed softly in blue. "Multiple ships detected," said Lieutenant Marin. "Tergathi battlecruisers, stealth class. They're holding position near the colony's orbit." Alara crossed her arms. "No official declaration?" "None," Marin replied. "But they're jamming signals and blocking trade lanes. They're preparing an ambush," she said quietly. Another officer added, "The council won't stop them. They've called it a local border issue." Alara nodded slowly. She wasn't surprised. The council had looked down on humans since the day Earth was rediscovered. Most of them still believed humans were reckless and violent, a risk to peace. They expect us to sit back, she said. They think we'll break or beg. She turned toward the comm station. Send a priority message to Earth Command. Encryption code. Shadowlight protocol. On Earth, thousands of kilometers underground. In the secure War Command bunker beneath New Geneva. The alert sounded. Shadowlight protocol activated. A voice said. Generals and tacticians gathered around their own version of the holotable. The message from Alara played in full, requesting permission to proceed with defensive action. Colony at Vega 9 is under silent threat. Tergathi fleet present. We are outnumbered. If authorization granted, activate classified asset. There was silence in the room. Then one general stood. Deploy the Vindicator. Back on the Resolute, Alara received the return signal. It was brief and direct. Authorization granted. HSS Vindicator en route. ETA 12 hours. Maintain position and avoid escalation. Alara exhaled slowly. They're sending it. Her crew looked up. Many had only heard rumors of the Vindicator. It was said to be faster, stronger, and smarter than anything humanity had ever built. A ghost ship built for one purpose: war. She looked at her officers. We hold until it arrives. As the hours passed, Alara prepared her crew. Status of weapons systems, she asked. Charged and locked, Marin replied. Shields, full power. She walked the bridge slowly, watching her crew work. There was no panic, no shouting, just quiet focus. This crew had been trained for situations like this, even if this would be their first real test. Contact the colony, Alara said. The screen flickered, then showed a middle-aged man with tired eyes and a gray beard. Commander Voss, he said. We've heard rumors. What's going on? You need to move your people underground. Keep them safe. We're expecting conflict. He looked worried. We're not soldiers. Alara gave a small nod. That's why we are. Hours later, alarms blared. Multiple ships jumping in. An officer called out. It's the Tergathi. The enemy fleet dropped from warp just beyond Vega 9's orbit. At least 15 warships, all marked with blood-red stripes and the golden crest of the Tergathi Empire. They're broadcasting a message, said Maron. Put it on, Alara said. The image of Supreme Chancellor Drenkol filled the screen again. His eyes burned with pride and hate. You were warned, he said. Now we test your strength. Run if you wish, beg if you must, but your colony falls today. Alara stepped forward and stared straight at the screen. We don't run, she said, and we don't beg. The screen went dark. Alara stood in the center of the bridge. The enemy fleet was moving into formation. Hold your fire, she ordered. The Vindicator is coming. Outside, the colony lights began to fade as citizens moved underground. Vega 9 went dark. Alara narrowed her eyes. Let them think we're scared. She turned to her officers. We hold, we watch, and when our second ship arrives. She paused, then smiled slightly. We end this. Red lights flashed across the Resolute's bridge. Klaxons echoed through the ship as the Tergathi fleet moved into attack formation. Enemy ships closing in, shouted Lieutenant Marin. Range 70,000 kilometers, and shrinking fast. Alara Voss stood firm at the center of the command deck. The main screen showed the enemy ships, 15 Tergathi warships, each bristling with weapons, moving like a pack of predators. They're locking weapons, Marin said. Shields up, Alara ordered. Battle stations, all hands prepare for engagement. Across the Resolute, crew members rushed to their posts. Gunner stations activated. Engineers braced the hull. Shield generators powered up to full. The ship was ready, but the odds were brutal. The first wave came quickly. Bright lances of energy lit up space. Explosions flared near the Resolute's shields. The ship rocked but held. Shields at 82% reported. Ensign Talon. Return fire, Alara said calmly. The Resolute's forward cannons roared to life. Blue plasma bolts tore across the void, striking one of the enemy frigates. Its shields flickered, then burst. Direct hit, Marin shouted. One Tergathi ship damaged, but more were coming. The Tergathi fleet split into two flanking wings, trying to surround the Resolute from both sides. They're trying to box us in, Alara muttered. Recommend evasive maneuvers, Marin said. Alara nodded. Execute a Zeta 4 pattern. Engines to full. The massive ship groaned as it turned hard to starboard, barely dodging a blast aimed at its rear thrusters. For 30 minutes, the Resolute fought alone. One Tergathi ship was destroyed. 2 more were damaged. But the Resolute was taking hits too. Shields down to 41%, Talon reported. Port side armor is weakening. More explosions rocked the ship. Sparks flew on the bridge. A console shorted out in flames before being extinguished. Casualty report, Alara demanded. 4 injured, 1 critical, a voice answered over comms. The situation was worsening. The Tergathi were ruthless. Every move they made was aimed to crush, not warn. Their goal was clear: wipe out the Resolute and destroy the colony before help could arrive. But Alara wasn't giving up. She gripped the rail in front of her and stared at the screen. Time until Vindicator arrives. Unknown, Marin said. We lost the tracking signal in the storm bands near the system's edge. They're coming, Alara said quietly. They have to. The enemy flagship moved closer. Its weapons were charging for a final strike. Main gun locked on us, said Talon. If they fire now, the sentence didn't need to finish. Everyone on the bridge knew the Resolute couldn't survive that blast. The screen went white for a second. The Tergathi flagship's main cannon fired. A massive beam of red energy shot through space, straight toward the Resolute. Alara stood frozen. There was no time to dodge. Then a sudden burst of blue light appeared behind the Tergathi fleet. The enemy's blast was intercepted mid-air, destroyed in a brilliant explosion by a glowing shield wall. A new ship dropped out of warp, sleek, silent, jet black with no visible windows or markings. Its engines were silent, but its presence screamed power. HSS Vindicator has arrived, Marin whispered, eyes wide. On the main screen, the Vindicator moved with precision and speed. It was smaller than the Resolute, but its design was sharper, angled like a blade, and deadly quiet. It didn't wait for orders. Its AI-controlled cannons locked onto the nearest Tergathi ship and fired instantly. 2 enemy destroyers exploded in seconds, not just damaged, gone. Tergathi formations broke apart in confusion. Their ships scattered, trying to adjust. It's taking them out one by one, Talon said in shock. Let it, Alara said, eyes focused. They've seen what we can do. Now they'll learn what we built in silence. The Resolute regrouped and joined the Vindicator. The 2 ships moved as one. Humans weren't running anymore. They were fighting back with precision, with strength, and with purpose. The battle wasn't over yet, but it had already changed. The battlefield had changed. Tergathi ships scattered in confusion as the Vindicator moved through them like a shadow. Its weapons fired without pause. Every shot was perfect. Missiles twisted through space, dodging enemy countermeasures. Laser cannons sliced through shields and armor like paper. On the Resolute's bridge, Commander Elara Voss watched in silence. Her crew stared at the display in awe. 4 enemy ships destroyed, said Lieutenant Marin. 2 more disabled. The rest are retreating. Not retreating, Elara said. They're panicking. The Vindicator wasn't just a ship. It was a message. A silent answer to years of mockery and doubt. Built in secret, powered by advanced AI, it had no crew, only purpose. One Tergathi warship turned and opened fire on the Vindicator. Its missiles flew fast, but never hit. The Vindicator deployed a ripple shield, an energy field that absorbed and redirected the blasts back at the attacker. The Tergathi ship exploded in a white flash. Another tried to run. The Vindicator disabled its engines with a focused EMP strike, leaving it adrift and powerless. No wasted shots, Marin said quietly. No mercy either. Elara gave him a sharp look. There's a difference between power and cruelty. Then the enemy flagship tried to escape. It fired its thrusters at full and began pulling away from the battlefield. Elara's eyes narrowed. Not this time. Target their engines, she ordered. Minimum force, the Resolute fired 2 precision blasts. The flagship's rear thrusters exploded. Flames burst from the hull. The ship slowed, drifting without control. A message request flashed on the screen. Incoming transmission, Supreme Chancellor Drenkull. Ilara allowed it. The screen lit up with Drenkull's face. His proud expression was gone. His breathing was heavy. Behind him, fires burned inside the bridge of his broken ship. "You monsters," he growled. "You could destroy us all." "We could," Ilara said calmly. "But we won't," he sneered. "Why spare us? Because we're not the monsters you painted us to be." She ended the call. "Send rescue beacons to enemy escape pods," Ilara ordered. "Recover survivors. All of them." Her crew looked surprised, but no one questioned her. Orders were followed. The Resolute and Vindicator began pulling in drifting escape pods. Enemy soldiers were brought aboard, treated, and secured. Not as friends, but not left to die. "This is how we win," Ilara said. "Not just with firepower, with discipline, with honor." Back on Vega 9, the colony emerged from hiding. Families stepped into the sunlight. Children looked up and pointed as the ships passed overhead. They didn't know every detail, but they knew they were safe. On the bridge, a final report came in. All enemy ships destroyed or captured. Minimal damage to Resolute. Vindicator undamaged. Ilara sat down for the first time since the battle began. "They expected barbarians," she said. "They got something else." The enemy had attacked, expecting fear and weakness. Instead, they met resolve. The Galactic Council chamber was full. Delegates from hundreds of species filled their seats. Some shimmered like water. Others buzzed with light or floated in tanks. All eyes were fixed on the central platform. Ailer Voss stood there in full uniform. Behind her, 2 guards stood with Supreme Chancellor Drenkull in chains. His face was bruised. His pride was shattered. The chamber was silent. A hologram showed above them. It displayed the battle at Vega 9 in full detail. The destruction, the precision, and the mercy. Every ship destroyed. Every enemy rescued. A second recording played. Drenkull's own words. "You were warned, now we test your strength." And then Ilara's response. "We don't run, and we don't beg." The room stayed silent. Not a whisper. Not a breath. Then the voice of the council moderator echoed through the chamber. "These recordings are clear. The Turgathi Empire launched an unprovoked attack on a human colony. The humans responded, and they showed restraint." Ilara took a small step forward. "I did not come here to ask for pity or fear. I came to show you who we are." She looked around the chamber. "You called us barbarians. You laughed when we arrived. You thought we were savages with guns." She paused. "But when your laws were broken, we obeyed them. When we were attacked, we defended. And when we won, we saved lives." Some delegates looked down. Others looked straight at her. A few nodded. She continued, "We could have destroyed their entire fleet. We didn't. Because power means nothing if it's not used wisely." The moderator turned to the council. "We must now vote. Does humanity deserve full status within the council, with protection, voice, and equal standing?" The vote began. One by one, lights on the walls blinked green. Some delegates hesitated, but the evidence was clear. The final result glowed above the chamber. Humanity granted full membership, 93% approval. A wave of whispers passed through the chamber. Ilara didn't smile. She only gave a small nod. She didn't come for applause. She came for justice. Later, in a private meeting room, a few key delegates approached her. "You've earned more than a seat, Commander," said a Lyran representative. "You've earned respect," Ilara replied. "Then let's make sure the next species to rise doesn't face what we did." Back on the Resolute, Ilara met with her crew. "It's done," she said. The officers looked relieved. "We're no longer outsiders," said Marin. "No," she replied. "Now we're part of the future." In a holding cell deep in the station, Drenkull sat alone. His empire had fallen silent. Sanctions had been placed. Turgathi ships were being withdrawn. The age of unchecked power was over, and it had ended with one battle, one ship, one choice. The Resolute soared above Vega 9, casting a long shadow over the recovering colony. Below, the land was peaceful again. Smoke had cleared. Families stepped out of shelters. Workers repaired roads. Children pointed at the sky when the ship passed. Commander Alara Voss stood at the bridge window, looking down in silence. She had seen war. She had seen fear. But now she was watching something new. Hope. A message came in from Earth Command. Well done, Commander. The Council has ratified full rights. Humanity now holds a permanent seat. All colonies under protection. Ilara read it twice. Then she looked at her crew. We did it, she said. Not with fear, not with fire, with strength, with honor. Her officers smiled. Some clapped quietly. They had fought together, and they had won more than a battle. They had changed the way the galaxy saw their people. Later, Alara stepped off the Resolute and walked through the colony herself. People greeted her with cheers and handshakes. Children ran beside her, laughing and asking questions about the ship. You saved us, one mother said, holding her child close. Alara only replied, we protect our own. She visited the colony's central square, where a statue was already being built. It wasn't of her. It was of a simple human standing between two worlds, one of war and one of peace. The plaque below it read, strength is not in what we destroy, but what we protect. Back at the spaceport, the HSS Vindicator stood silent. It had no crew, no celebration. But everyone who saw it knew its name now, and everyone who mocked humanity before now feared and respected them. Across the galaxy, news spread fast. The Council had changed. The Tergathi Empire had been punished, and humanity had arrived. Alara stood alone at night, watching the stars from a balcony above the colony. A soft wind blew across the trees. The sky was clear. She thought of the Council chambers. She thought of Drenkul in chains. She thought of every voice that once called humans barbarians. Now those voices were silent, and in their place, a new truth had begun. Humanity had earned its place among the stars.